Mulai.
Good, udah. Good evening and peace be upon us all. I am Sid, and I will be the moderator holding today. Very important seminar titled Democracy in the Contemporary Era: Challenge, Opportunity, and Future Directions. This topic is extremely relevant as democracy in Indonesia and global is facing serious challenges such as declining public trust, political polarization, and disinformation. To discuss this in depth, we have two outstanding presenters, Aline and Nisa. Aline will begin by laying out the theoretical foundation and the current conditions, while Lisa will follow up with the challenge, opportunity, and conclusion. Without further ado, let's welcome our first presenter, Aline. The time is yours.
Okay. Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Alina Salsabila Tivana with NIM 66702500103. And today I will open our discussion about the current state of democracy around the world. Democracy is facing major problems. Public trust in government is declining. Citizens feel disconnected from politics, and political opinions are becoming more polarized. These problems also appear strongly in Indonesia. Uh, Many people believe democracy is not delivering fairness, accountability, or transparency. At the same time, social media is shaping political opinions faster than institutions can respond. This creates conflict, misinformation, and emotional debates instead of thoughtful political discussion. Okay, next. Before we continue, we need to clarify several key concepts. First, democracy simply means a system where power comes from the people, not from a single rule. Second, representation means elected officials speak and act on behalf of citizens. Third, political participation includes voting, expressing opinions, joining civic groups, or engaging in public debates. Finally, rule of law means the government must follow the same laws as citizens. This concept built the foundation of a democratic system and help us evaluate whether a democracy is strong or weak. Next. Today, democracies around the world face similar challenges. In Indonesia, trust in political institutions has decreased in recent years. Many young people feel politics in dominated by elites and not connected to their lives. At the same time, digital platform amplify emotional content, spreading misinformation, and creating division. Globally, countries like the United States, the United Kingdom and Brazil face similar issues, rising polarization, declining trust, and debate shaped more by social media algorithms than real public dialogue. This condition creates a sense that democracy is fragmented and unable to unify citizens around common goals. Okay, next. Three major theories help us understand this problem. First, Robert Dahl explained the democracy as a polyarchy where citizens participate freely, vote freely, and hold leaders accountable. When participation drops or information becomes distorted, polyarchy weakens. Second, Habermas discusses the public sphere, space where citizens debate rationally, but today's public sphere is disrupted by digital platforms that prioritize speed and emotional instead of critical thinking. And third, Walter Lippmann argues that citizens often rely on simplified political image or manufacture consent because political realities are too complex. This becomes even more true in the digital era, where algorithms decide what information we see. This framework show how democracy can fail when participation weakens, communication becomes manipulated, or public debate becomes fragmented. Okay, next, Anissa.
Okay. Let me introduce myself. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Anissa Ramadhani with name 6670500095. Today, uh, the next one is challenge and opportunities. Democracy today is seriously challenged. The first one is information spread quickly and shapes opinions before facts are checked. The second one, money politics, is influence of election and politics making reduction and the second one, money politic influence election and politic making reduction. Fairness. The third one, yield disagreement. Many young people feel politics is corrupt and or irrelevant, so they withdraw. But there are also clear opportunities. Digital platform, when used responsibly, can increase participation, education voters, and connect citizens directly to political leaders. Civic education can help young people build strong political awareness. And inclusive policy making encourage citizens to participate more actively and feel responded. Democracy is not dying, it is changing, and we must use the opportunities wisely. The next one, next, next slide. Okay, the next one is case study and data. Let's look at some examples. Okay, the next one is case study and data. Let's look at some explains Indonesia. Election from 2019 to 2024 show rising polarization. Social media become the main arena for political battles. Many young reporters feeling confused by conflicting information. In the United States and the United Kingdom, social media algorithms have created echo chamber where citizens only see the opinions they agree with. The, the least understanding and increase conflict. Research also show that trust in political institutions has declined in many countries, especially among people under 30. This proves the fragmentation is global, not only Indonesian. Okay, next one. The next one. Next slide. Slide is conclusion. The next one is conclusion. To conclusion, democracy is facing real pressure from declining trust, misinformation, and polarization but democracy is also flexible. It can evolve and adapt if citizens stay informed and participate actively and hold leaders accountable. The future of democracy depends on how we respond to the challenge. If we build strong digital literacy, create inclusive space for public debate, and strengthen civic education, democracy can become more resilient. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to Aline and Nisa for the comprehensive presentation. It is clear that democracy stands at a critical juncture. Now it is time to open the discussion session. I invite our two questioners, Kanya and Amel, to pose the questions and critical responses to the material presented. We will divide this into two sessions with each questioner asking two main points. I now invite Kanya, questioner one, to begin with her first to questions.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Siti Kania Aziza with name 6670250115. Thank you for moderator. I have two crucial points to raise. First, in today's digital ecosystem, young people are constantly exposed to short, fast, and emotional political content. Given this environment, how can you realistically expect young citizens to develop deep political judgment? Is it more likely that they are being shaped by algorithms rather than going democratic learning? And number two, money politics continue to influence election and national who gets power rather than that who deserve it. If political competition is dominated by financial strength instead of citizen preference, how can we still claim that democracy represent the people? Isn't this turning democracy into a marketplace rather than a political system? Thank you.
Okay. These are very sharp questions. Kania, I invite presenter one, Alin, to answer Kania first questions, and presenter two, Nisa, to answer the second questions.
Okay. Okay, Kania. I answer to first question. Okay, it's true that young people face an overloaded the digital environment filled with emotional content. But political judgment is not formed by the platform, it is formed by habits. We can still cultivate strong political reasoning of we teach young people to slow down, compare information, evaluate search, and engage in reflective discussion. Schools, universities, and civic groups play a key role. They can teach digital literacy, debate skill, and fact-checking practice. Once young people become aware of how algorithm influence what they see, they regain control. So, even tough algorithm push superficial content, critical habits allow youth to break out of that bubble and develop deeper political understanding.
Okay, the second question is the answer of second question is you are right that money politics is the core of democratic finance, but democracy can survive this big problem if the boildness strong accountability structure. For example, strict campaign finance allows forest candidates to report spending in independent election commission can audit funding secrets. Civil society or organizing can monitor campaign practice and expose abuse. In several countries, digital transparency tools now allow citizens to track political donation in real time. When corruption becomes visibility and costly, political actor will think twice. This doesn't eliminate money politics instantly, but reduction it its influence over time. Okay, moderator, we me and Alin uh, okay
Okay.
okay moderator.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Alisa. We now to question number 2. Amel to put forward her next two critical questions.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Let me introduce myself. My name is Amelia Juliana Sombing, with name 670-25097. I will focus on the optimism that the present results show toward the recovery of democracy. The first question is, you say democracy is adaptable and capable of fixing itself through reforms, but when disrupt the institution keeps increasing, reform moves slowly and political elites often resist change. What concrete basis do you have to argue that democracy will recover instead of declining further? And the second is, you present digital participation is a major opportunity, but in the practice, digital space are dominated by both targeted political ads, echo chamber, and algorithm bias. How can we call digital participation an opportunity when the reality shows it is increasingly exploited to manipulate public opinion rather than empower it? Thank you.
Okay. To substantial question, Amel, I invite presenter 1, Alin, to answer Amel first questions, and presenter 2, Nisa, to answer the second questions.
Okay, I will answer the first question from Amel. You are right, Amel. Trust in declining, and elites often block reform. But democracy has a long history of surviving crisis through institutional evolution. It has survived corruption waves, military intervention, economic collapse, and authoritarian reversal because it has built-in mechanism like election, judicial review, free media, and civil society. That pressure changes from inside the system. We also see real sign of recovery. More youth-led political movement are demanding transparency. Fact-checking communities are growing rapidly. Several democracies are experimenting with participatory budgeting, digital transparency tools, and anti-corruption reforms. Its resilience is not theoretical, it is empirical. Thank you.
Okay, I will answer Amel for the second. Digital participation become a really opportunity when citizens are equipped with literacy, platform are regular, and public oversight become consistent. Yes, digital space are messy, but they are also the only space where millions can participate instantly without barriers. To reduce manipulation, countries are now forcing platforms to disclose political advertisements, track disinformation, and open algorithmic data for adulting. Meanwhile, digital literacy programs in school and communities teach citizens how to detect bias. If these three competence, education, regulation, and oversight work together, digital participants shift from a tool of manipulation into a tool of empowerment. Oke, moderator.
Okay, I have another question. First, we have established that identity-based polarization is highly persistent and dangerous. How precisely does this relate to the challenge of strong oligarchy influence you identified, and what theory explain this manipulation?
Okay. I answer The connection is structural. Oligarchy influence involve the dominance of elite interests and concert will offer political decision often causing democracy to get stuck due to elite interests. To maintain this dominance, this elite often strategically fund or amplify identity-based conflict to distract the public from issues like inequality or policy capture.
Okay, if this manipulation occurs, it is a direct valuation of jargon Habermas public serve concept, which requires rational and transparent discourse. The resulting polarization as a recurring polarization after every national election cycle in Indonesia is purely emotive and manipulative, effectively naturalizing and meaningful citizen participation. And then, my question again. Your presentation highlight both the global decline in institutional trust and the low trust toward parliament in Indonesia. If rule of law is defined as law applying equally to everyone, doesn't the massive distrust imply a fundamental failure in upholding the rule of law itself?
Okay, I want to answer the question of Kania. Absolutely, the election interest is a rational response to provide structural failures when public trust often drops below 50 in institution like parliament, like according to LEPI survey, it signals that institutions are serving elite interests, not the public interest. This directly contradicts the rule of law.
But this failure impact Robert's the oligarchy. When institutional trust fails, the democratic system face democratic backsliding. Signs disrupt is also a decline in confidence in political institutions. The structural failure means the system is formally democratic but functionally fails to imply citizens' voice.
Okay, I have a last question. Given that to 79% of Indonesian internet users are exposed to political misinformation and Gen Z is highly active online. How can opportunity of stronger digital literacy movement effective counter this overwhelming flow and falsehood?
Okay, I answer the sheer volume of misinformation creates a pressure. Okay, the sheer volume of misinformation creates pressure and from environment to citizen where political views are shaped by media distortion, not reality. The key role of digital literacy movement is not just to uh, teach technical skills, but to elevate political literacy.
Okay, digital literacy must convert Gen Z's online activity from mere exposure to minutes from information into proactive verification and critical thinking. If we fail, technology wishes an opportunity to expand participation will only serve to deepen the crisis of the disinformation, further reinforcing weak political literacy. Okay, maybe Amel have a question again.
Mm, okay. Um, the presentation notes the issue of weak citizen participation and youth political apathy. Despite the rise of digital activism, how can the democratic system convert the passive digital engagement into robust action building upon Robert Putnam's social capital?
Okay, I wanna answer the question of Amel. Putnam argues that the quality of democracy is affected by social capital or trust among citizens. Weak citizen participants signal low social capital to convert digital engagement into the real action. The system must create credible low risk and localist opportunities for collective action. The leverage the rising youth driven digital activists. Amel have critical follow-up.
Um, Digital activism provides bridging social capital, but true democratic health requires strong bonding social capital. The challenge is to use technology to facilitate structured dialogue that prevents the identity-based conflict that destroy internal trust, thereby overcoming apathy and weak citizen participation. I think that's enough. Mm, and I wanna ask about global and policy extreme. Uh, the The question is, the presentation mentions global case of unrest like the Capitol Hill riot, US 2021, and post-election unrest in Brazil, linking them to extreme polarization. What is the common theoretical link between this global case and the requiring polarization in Indonesia? Alin?
Mel. Okay, the common link is the failure of the rational public sphere and the resulting failure of citizens to share a common reality, as described by the pseudo-environment concept in all these nations. Social media polarization becomes extremely intense, causing election to be seen as existential struggles, not democratic contests.
Okay, I want to a little bit to follow up. This is the ultimate danger of digital misinformation becoming a global threat. When a significant segment of population live in pseudo reality, the foundation of democracy, the peaceful transfer of power based on shared fact and rules, copeless, leading to the type of unrest seen in the global cases. Okay.
Okay, I want to ask about um, considering all the major contemporary challenge, misinformation, disrupt apathy and oligarchy influence. What is the single most urgent future direction required to make democracy less fragile?
Okay, the most urgent direction is the radical engagement of political literacy. Stronger political literacy directly addresses the causes of misinformation, reduce youth apathy, and help citizens critically evaluate, evaluate political institutions, which is essential for rebuilding the new public trust. Have Amel critical follow-up?
The final critic is that while technology and digital activism are important opportunity, they are mere tools. Without the critically informed and politically literate public, these tools can be easily manipulated each by political buzz, resulting in a system where elite interests continue to dominate making democracy highly fragile.
Okay. Thank you to the presenter, the questioner, and everyone who joined today. Um, from this seminar, the presentation highlight the main challenge of modern democracy: disinformation, polarization, and the power of oligarchs. Conclusions. To conclude, democracy is facing real pressure from declining trust, misinformation, and polarization. But democracy is also flexible. It can evolve and adapt if citizens stay informed, participate actively, and hold leaders accountable. The future of democracy depends on how we respond to today's challenge. If we build stronger digital literacy, create inclusive space for public debate, and strengthen civic education, democracy can become more resilient. Young people hold major influence in shaping the future direction of democracy, both online and offline. We have we have heard that democracy today, while essential, is highly fragile. We face challenges like polarization, misinformation, and financial dominance. But we also have great opportunity through digital activism and the need for stronger political literacy. The key lies in transparency, accountability, and active participation from every citizen. Specifically, the role of the younger generation is critical, as they are at the forefront of the digital ecosystem, which is now enough for politics. This concludes our seminar proposal today. Thank you to all attendees and the presentation team, Aline, Lisa, Kania, and Amel. Good evening and thank you all.
Thank you. Goodbye. Good
Stefan.
night.
Thank